believed came from outer space. He left everything behind to travel round the country, trying to find it a viable human female host so it could fulfill its destiny of, well, that part still ain't clear. Every host, every vessel as they refer to them, has died. It ain't even close to the craziest religion I've encountered by a long ways. But there was a catch. The creature they worship. I seen it, and what's worse, I smelled it. So you mean, what you're saying is all Reuben manages to stammer out, this ain't another meth-fueled preacher hawking universal consciousness to find his seventh wife. What these people worship, it's real. What Hicks doesn't say is that the object of their worship being real scares the ever-loving shit out of him. Luckily, Reuben says it for him. If that's true, that's some scary shit, man. Hicks looks up from a disassembled handgun to add, the herald's shooting my arse and forcing my 69 Super Bee off the side of a goddamned mountain wasn't reassuring neither. Despite the steel rod the doctors put in his left leg after they scraped him off the side of a West Virginia highway, Hicks is still chasing that thing, just in a 74 Malibu these days. He doesn't know exactly why, but he can sense the shape of his reasons as clear as he can feel the winter in the bar in his leg. That jet-black thing he'd seen slithering across the floor cracked the windshield of his world view, and we all know how that ends. The crack keeps spider-webbing across the surface until the whole thing collapses. It can take a while, but that's how it always ends. He snuffed out whatever faith his daddy beat into him long ago. He couldn't go through life on his knees, a little boy squealing when the belt landed across his backside. Hicks tells himself he tore down the walls of his father's church because what they worshipped wasn't real, and it wasn't. But that wasn't why. Not really. Somewhere beneath the booze and the scars and the years of unmasking innumerable false gods, the real reason is still down there. He caught a glimpse of it when he saw that filthy black shape ooze across the floor in Barbersville, West Virginia, and finally found a god that existed. One look at that thing, and he was the person he vowed never to be again. A scared kid cowering before the supernatural. Somewhere in the back of his mind, Hicks mulls this over as he loads his pistols. It isn't a coherent thought, maybe not even a feeling, but it's there. Hicks raises the plastic motel cup of whiskey to his lips, and Reuben's phone vibrates. Finally. Lawrence, talk to me. I have some pictures for you. A body in a house out in Bodega Bay. I don't know if it's still there, but I'll text you the address. I gotta go. A few minutes later, Lawrence hands the elder his phone, and he takes it awkwardly, regarding it like something alien and strange. It's already dialing, just... The old man sneers at him, and the sentence dies before it's complete. Lawrence. Guillermo, the voice on the other end, answers, No, this is the elder. Oh, I'm sorry, Exalted One, it's just... Lawrence's name came up on my caller ID, and no matter. Someone is there. Someone knows. Whatever you're doing, do it faster. Yes, of course, the voice stammers. I want to know who's watching us. He smacks his dry lips, the next words forming a disagreeable taste on them. Especially if it's Hicks. Hicks? Is he, The elder disdainfully hands Lawrence back his phone, and Lawrence, trying to distract himself from shitting bricks and the questions racing through his mind, wonders, how did the elder already know they were being watched? How much does he know? Is this a test? Is he trying to catch me red-handed and giving me more rope to string myself up with? Is Hicks working with Reuben? He instead forces himself to reflect that this aging, brittle man is more comfortable with things from beyond this earth than with an iPhone. Lawrence leaves the room in a hurry, leaving the elder to relish a rare moment of solitude. He sinks down in the leather chair of his library, his body at last fully exhaling. The tension leaves his shoulders, his frame shrivels, revealing its antiquity. He sighs wearily, looking down at the same book that's been in front of him for years. His Bible, his North Star, the Astronomicon, as he's come to call it. He doesn't know its real title, and the vast majority of its contents he cannot read. Its mystery has consumed him as surely as his age. His bony hand needs a brow furrowed under the weight of the decades he spent chasing this knowledge. Alone in his sanctum, he allows himself the momentary weakness of feeling the full burden of his destiny. He feels the onus of his followers' faith, along with all he's endured. The lives taken, the miles traveled, and the frustrations of a litany of failures. His eyes close, and he breathes deeply for a time, minutes, hours, until a rapping sounds on the heavy door, as it always inevitably does. He pulls himself back, sets his shoulders, and blinks his sparkling eyes, alert and ready. The elder has returned. "Come in." "I've seen her," Annika enthuses as she enters, eyes alight with hope. Despite having this conversation many times before, the elder can't help but smile. This belief, the unshakable call to destiny, she believes it so purely, and her belief feeds his, just as his belief kindled hers when she came to him months ago. She's perfect. "Child, our destiny demands a heavy burden upon you." She approaches his desk hesitantly, unsure of how much eagerness she should betray. The elder takes her hands in his and gazes directly into her green eyes. The openness with which they return his gaze stirs something within him. A memory now, but if he was 20 years younger, "I need you to watch over her, stay close to her." "Of course, her boy Elliot. He has a play date with my Sam this weekend. I'll make sure we get some quality time." Good, he replies absently, the words drifting unhurriedly from between his weathered lips. Neither of them seem to notice how long the elder keeps caressing her well-manicured hand, both of them lost in their own private fantasies. His of what would have been in the past, hers of what may yet be in the future. Reuben watches Hicks like a hawk. The man never seems to stop drinking. "How do you do that? All day, I mean?" Hicks doesn't respond. He just keeps leafing through the pictures Reuben got Lawrence, periodically raising the flask to his lips. Reuben looks over Hicks's shoulder and sees the image of a woman's corpse, her legs splayed and wrenched apart to reveal a gruesome aperture wet with blood and something black and foul. Atramentum, Hicks calls it. It makes it easier to look at this shit. Hicks's words hang there for a moment, neither man having much to add. "We're close, kid. You're sure nobody saw you at the house?" "Yeah, I'm sure." "When are you meeting Larry in person again? We need to know where this thing is going to be implanted next." "It's already done. These pics are a couple weeks old now. There wasn't much at the house. I told him—" A knock at the door interrupts Reuben. Hicks shoves him aside roughly and produces a pistol in one swift motion. "And I told you," he hisses through gritted teeth, "you don't ever tell your source where the fuck we're staying." Reuben edges toward the door, hands up, and whispers, "Hicks, fucking chill, man." The look on Hicks' face, however, is decidedly not fucking chill. Not fucking chill in the slightest. The fact he's brandishing a loaded weapon isn't particularly reassuring either. Reuben cocks his eyebrow and whispers again, "Fucking chill." He opens the door, interposing his body between it and Hicks, takes the Chinese food from the delivery kid and makes sure to tip 20%. He spreads out the food on the table. Hicks flicks the safety back on and puts the gun on the dresser. "I told him we'd meet tomorrow." "We?" Reuben asks. "Yeah, that was the condition. He needed to know I was serious. You're something of a celebrity in their circle, apparently. I'm not important enough to talk to. But you confirmed it. Yes, they have a new vessel and she's here. After Hicks doesn't reply, he adds, in town, and immediately feels stupid for doing so. Reuben can't help hoping Hicks will thank him, even sarcastically. Instead, between bites, Hicks grunts, "You didn't tell him about your dead stepbrother." Reuben shoves a plastic fork full of chow mein in his mouth rather than answer. "Makes sense," Hicks continues, now speaking to nobody in particular. "Better they don't know it's personal. Pass the fucking Mushu pork." "Please sit down. I was just pouring myself a glass of wine and—" "Oopsie, I poured two." Elise is sitting in Annika's living room, which she begrudgingly admits is really nice. Sleek and modern, but with enough plants and books to feel organic and welcoming. She makes a mental note to compliment her on the Ai Weiwei lithograph. Elliot and Sam are already upstairs whooping over the noise of the PS4. "Thanks, Annika." Annika. She learned the woman's name at last when she heard her instruct Elliot not to call her Mrs. Schofield. She's forcefully inserted it into their conversation now in the hopes she won't forget it. The wine is good, and she's in no hurry this particular night. Peter already texted her during his layover in Denver, which was mercifully brief, because Elise is too protective of his ego to tell him how much she relishes his business trips. Besides, he had been asking her strange questions. He'd noticed a change in her and was concerned, which she resents. She hasn't felt this good in years, and here was her husband, urging her to see a doctor. It's a moot point anyway, because after this very nice petit syrah and a quick drive home, Elise will have the house to herself for at least one peaceful night. "Hey, Annika, She did it again. Hopefully it doesn't feel as unnatural to hear as it does to say. "I wanted to apologize for the other night at the dojo. I know I was a little short, it's just—" She realizes she hasn't planned for the end of the sentence, and nothing reasonable is coming to her. Don't even think twice about it. Annika is right next to her now, and she takes Elise's hand, which is less startling than she thought it would have been. "I could see you had something going on. We've all been there." There's a pause and a smile now, a pleasing rhythm that, along with the wine and the thought of the house to herself and her new vibrator, seems to take the tension out of Elise's shoulders. "But now, you're looking great. You're glowing." Elise feels herself blush a little and smiles as she takes a drink of the wine, because Annika's right. She feels good, better than she has in a long time. Her skin has cleared up, her hair is shiny without putting anything in it, and her allergies have been conspicuously absent. Most of all, though, it's nice that someone noticed. "I'm gonna have another glass." "Do you want one? I know you gotta drive, but—" Elise pinches the air to indicate a little one and giggles. Annika giggles back. There's a moment when she wonders, with a little bit of trepidation, are they becoming gal pals? Annika triple-checks the lock on the door from the kitchen to the garage on her way back. She wants to open the door and look at the body that's wrapped up there almost as much as she wants to keep Elise near her as long as possible. Somehow knowing that Peter's decapitated corpse is so close to his wife makes the whole experience electrifying. She feels giddy, like a teenager on a first date. She composes herself in the kitchen and then returns to Elise with the bottle and, of course, pours her a full glass and then some. "I'm glad to see you feeling better. I've been on kind of a high lately too, and I want everyone to be as excited about the future as I am." This is the part, Elise realizes, where she's supposed to prod the conversation forward. A raise of the eyebrow is all that's needed. "I've never been, religious, but I always considered myself to be spiritual, you know. And I've been getting into this group that talks about mankind's place in the cosmos and where we're headed, and it's been so fulfilling. I'm like so torn between wanting to shout it from the mountaintop and also not talk everyone's ear off about it. And just like that, Elise is completely relieved of any desire to become gal pals with this woman. What did I get myself into with that second glass of wine? She thinks. All she can think of as a response is, huh. Thankfully, Sam calls, "Mum," from upstairs, and the opportunity to escape presents itself. By the time Annika comes back, Elise has finished the wine and is on the phone with a client. She excuses herself and is out the door, but Annika insists on getting a last salvo of small talk in. "Elise, promise me you'll be careful, okay? If anything happened to you, I would just..." She pauses, and Elise is incredibly uncomfortable because Annika looks like she's about to cry. Elise stands there, trying to be patient, and Annika finally stammers, "I'd never forgive myself." Elise forces the words, "Aren't you sweet?" out of her mouth and follows it with, "But really, it was just 2 glasses of wine. I'm fine." Annika's expression is fixed in concern and affection, like a mother sending her kid off for the first day of school. Elise can't decide if it's creepy or pathetic or just odd. Maybe she's drunk. "Just take care, okay? I'll call you tomorrow when the boys are up and about." "Night," Elise calls as she waves goodbye from the far side of her Range Rover's hood. She shakes her head as she drives off. "That bitch is weird," she mutters to herself. "That's her? You're sure?" "Yeah, Hicks. Elise Abington," Lawrence responds from the back seat of the Malibu. Hicks glares at him over his shoulder, sniffing for the slightest whiff of bullshit. Ruben's driving his car, which makes him even edgier than usual as they pull out behind the Range Rover. Hicks scribbles down the license plate number in his notepad. At the stop sign, Ruben flicks his left turn signal on as the Range Rover makes a right. "What the hell are you doing? I want to know where this bitch lives." "That wasn't the deal," Lawrence chimes in and pushes himself forward from the back seat. "Look, Larry, I don't trust you, I don't like you, and I sure as hell don't give a rat's ass about whatever deal you and Ruben worked out." Ruben waits at the intersection for a moment, unsure what to do, until Hicks prods him. "Turn right." There's another moment of uncertainty, but Hicks spits out the words, "Drive the fucking car," and they turn right. Elise's Range Rover is almost a block ahead of them now, but still plainly in view. A few minutes and a couple of turns later, they pass a newly built 2-story townhouse where the Range Rover pulls into the garage next to a black Mercedes. Hicks scribbles the address and the Mercedes plate number in his notebook as Lawrence crumples his body into the smallest, most inconspicuous shape a 6.1 man can muster in the back seat of a 74 Malibu. "There. Now we can call it a night. I got what I came for." Lawrence is afraid to speak, but even more afraid of not warning them, so he whispers from his horribly uncomfortable crouch, "We need to get out of here now. They'll be watching. They're always fucking watching." "Ain't nobody seen you. Get your ass up." Hicks half laughs, half snarls. "You look ridiculous back there. A grown man hiding out like that." Hearing this, Ruben smiles in spite of himself, relieved that Hicks's invective has another target, if only for an evening. "We'll get you back to your people. None the wiser." 12 miles north, Ruben pulls off Highway 101 into the cracked parking lot of what was once a Foster's Freeze, where dry weeds and errant bits of trash are keeping Lawrence's Honda Civic company. Ruben slides the gear shift into park and turns to the back seat. "I want to thank you, Lawrence. I know you took a risk, but you did a good thing tonight." Lawrence angrily discards his seatbelt. "You probably just got me killed, you assholes." And that's why Ruben here was saying thank. Lawrence spits back, "Get fucked, Hicks, and fuck you too, Ruben." He storms off to his car and mutters, "I trusted you fucking pricks," in the direction of nobody in particular, middle finger slung over his shoulder. Reuben goes to leave the parking lot and Hicks shoots him a withering glance. "What? I only let you drive my car because I don't trust you to keep your buddy Lawrence in line." Reuben looks back at the older man incredulously, and after a handful of unwavering eye contact, abdicates the driver's seat in exasperation. Not too much later, Hicks wordlessly pulls into the driveway of the NorCal Motor Paradise and parks the car. Reuben, in between bites of a double-double, looks at him quizzically. Hicks tells him, No, you go ahead, finish that burger," so he does. There are only a few bites left anyway. Reuben dabs Thousand Island from the edges of his mouth and asks, "So, where exactly are we?" "Your hotel," Hicks replies as he produces a key card from the inside pocket of his jacket. Do you have to be so goddamn dense?" "Your hotel, as in, you're staying here, I'm not. So take your tiger fries and get the fuck out of my car. They're animal style. I don't give a fuck what they're called. Take your shit and kick rocks." "But where are you gonna go?" Hicks hands Reuben the in-and-out bag and looks him dead in the eyes. "The less you know, the better." A grin cracks the man's withering gaze for a moment. "Because I'm gonna go do something really fucking stupid." Reuben stands in the chilly parking lot holding a bag of fries and the key card. Hicks adds sarcastically, "Don't wait up." It isn't until the tail lights of the Malibu fade in the distance that Reuben realizes there's no room number on the key card and the front desk is already closed for the night. It starts raining. Elise is floating in jet-black water, staring directly up into a crystal-clear, endless night sky dotted with innumerable stars. The black firmament and the dark water become one another at the horizon, undulating in a continuous loop around her. The glistening stars overhead are reflected just as brilliantly in the water, or perhaps it's the other way around, and she's looking down at the water from the heavens. Whichever way is up no longer matters because she's in the center of it all, floating and weightless, buoyed by the breath in her lungs and the life flowing through her body. The sky and water and she are inextricably connected, the elements flowing not just through her but from her. Her heart is racing and her heavy, ragged breath echoes in her ears. She's both exhilarated and at peace, having surrendered all thought and every cell in her body to the waves all around her that rise and fall with her heartbeat. The waves shudder and ripple through her body, and she hears a thrumming pulse, resonating from deep within her. It grows louder and more insistent until it hurts, but only for a moment before something inside her bursts and allows the surging motion to take its course through her body. The numbing swells rise and fall in time with the waves that shelter her, even as they engulf her, and there is no more pain, no more memory or even concept of pain. She's moved beyond sensation into something purer. The surges come faster and faster, her body writhing, then thrashing with them, dancing ecstatically in time with the intertwining of the churning sea and the swirling cosmos. Finally, she is overcome and the sky and the ocean are no longer dark. They're blindingly bright, and so is she. Everything is light. Startled, Elise wakes up from the best climax of her life, alone in bed, blinking in the darkness. She's overcome by how good she feels and starts laughing more freely than she has in a long time. She feels everything, the dampness of the sweat on her skin, and how much wetter her crotch is beneath her nightie. She feels herself, the warm, slightly sticky nectar between her legs, and relishes it. She brings her hand to her mouth to taste it and then realizes it's jet black. She knows this should alarm her, and for a moment it does, but she licks it off her fingers anyway. Her tongue is met with a deep, rich taste of flesh and sweat, and something else, something wonderful. As good as it tastes, the thought of how the slightest brush of her fingers against her labia felt is even more overwhelming. Her desire to see her OB-GYN about the black fluid between her legs, or to wash it out of the sheets, floats away in the overwhelming tide of the pleasure she can give herself. She turns and grabs her vibrator, still resting on the bed beside her, coated in her juices. She presses herself against it, grinding blissfully toward another orgasm. Her mind is blank. No fantasies of ex-boyfriends or cute guys from spin class, just an endless darkness of flowing obsidian coursing through her veins, out from her and into her in an unending cascade of bliss. She's getting close to coming again when she hears something and snaps out of it. Her reverie was so deep, she's not sure what it was. But now she's painfully aware of what she's been doing. Her hand and her vibrator are drenched in viscous black fluid, and reflexively she feels ashamed, though she's not sure why. She doesn't have time to puzzle it out because there's someone in her house that shouldn't be here. She hears the stranger approach, and she runs as quietly as she can into the bathroom and hides behind the shower curtain. There's a window there, but she quickly surmises it's far too small to shimmy out of. And besides, she's on the second floor. It's then she realizes she left her phone on the nightstand. It's then she realizes she's fucked. Hicks can hear her, and he knows she's heard him. The abruptly silenced vibrator and the cessation of her moaning is a dead giveaway. Ascending the stairs, he weighs his options and thinks to himself, fuck it. He musters his calmest, most reassuring southern drawl and leads with, "Mom, I'm sorry to disturb you, but this can't wait." Silence. He guesses he'd respond the same in her shoes. "Mrs. Abington, Elise? I'm not here to rob you or hurt you. I'm here to help you. You may not know it, but there are some dangerous people after you." He pauses on the threshold to her bedroom, at first to let his words sink in, and then, once he's flicked the light on, to take in the sight of her bed. The sheets are stained and splattered black where her pelvis would have been resting. It wasn't thick enough to be pure atramentium, but the translucent black fluid oozes like something alive, almost glistening with even darker flecks in its viscous rivulets. He'd seen a pussy that dripped atramentium before, but not one possessed by a living, breathing woman. Hicks didn't know exactly what that meant, but he knew it scared the hell out of him. A cursory once-over of the place makes it clear she's left the bedroom itself, so that leaves only the closet or the bathroom. He grabs her phone from the nightstand, pockets it, and heads for the walk-in closet. "You've probably been experiencing some weird shit lately, right? I know a little about it, and I want to get you the help you need. And I'm sorry, but I had to come in the middle of the night like this because you're being followed. You're being watched by people that want to do you harm. They're after me, too." He flicks on the light in the closet and hears her run from the bathroom out to the stairs. "Mom, hold up there. Mom," he shouts into the semi-darkness. She half stumbles, half falls down the stairs, but picks herself up in time to stay ahead of him. Hicks curses the rod in his leg as he gives chase because she's already in the garage. By the time he's there, the Range Rover is reversing out, crumpling the Mercedes driver's side door, headlights blinding him. He stumbles into the driveway toward his car, blinking like crazy. The rain falls hard on him, followed abruptly by something much harder. They've found him. Something that feels like a Louisville slugger hits him behind the knees, and Hicks hits the ground, suddenly feeling every day of his 53 years. Someone else kicks him in the head from the right, and the second crack of the bat is the last thing he hears or feels before everything goes dark. Elise keeps looking over her shoulder as she drives, but nobody's following her, at least not that she can tell. It's raining hard, and she can barely see the road as she racks her brain for a destination. She's got no wallet, no phone, no nothing. Just a white-knuckle grip on the steering wheel and shivers dancing through the whole of her body. Someone's after me, she thinks, either that guy in the house or the people he was talking about. Or both. Why? Who the fuck am I that people are after me? How is this my life right now? She drives on for a minute, shaking and trying to piece her splintered thoughts together. And then it comes to her. Elliot. She yanks the wheel abruptly, sending the car hydroplaning into a mailbox and taking out a little of a hedge as she hops the curb. But she doesn't care. She needs to get to her child. Annika is in the neighborhood, not far at all. She'll have a phone, clean clothes she can borrow, maybe a gun. Elise startles herself with that last thought. She'd always been averse to firearms, but right now the idea of one is reassuring. Annika is in her living room, looking at Peter's phone, which she used to photograph his corpse currently decaying in hefty bags in her garage. She lingers over a picture of Peter's severed head, his disconnected pate resting near his torso, lolling in the blood that's pooled between them. The blood is deep, dark and sticky, not the bright red stuff from the movies, but something thicker, almost rust-colored, real and vital. The eyes of the head rolled back, gazing up at nothing at all, flecked with blood splatter. She's not sure why she felt the need to take these photos. After all, Guillermo had specifically told her to make no record of his presence or the corpses, but she felt a compulsion to memorialize this moment. It felt important. It is important. If she stopped to think about it, she'd be amazed at how fast she's inured herself to these kinds of images. Looking at the man's face, she searches for who he was. There's nothing outwardly remarkable about him, and yet he was betrothed to the vessel. What did she see in him? Annika wonders to herself as she sips her wine and listens to the rain. Part of her wants to go into her garage and remove the body from its wrappings, to see the absence of life and look into those dead eyes and demand an answer. She notes herself feeling these urges as if she's watching herself from a distance. The impulses are strange, but she wonders, as she catalogues the feelings, why they arouse no revulsion in her, only curiosity. She's gone through the past weeks almost on autopilot, watching herself from outside of herself. When the elder said the vessel's husband needed to be killed, she accepted it as necessary without reservation. Severing ties to Elise's old life was important, he'd said, and not everyone had a marriage as cold and distant as she and Trevor. When the elder asked his followers to provide a venue for the killing, she volunteered. She insisted. All her life, she'd been waiting to be a part of something important, something that mattered, and she was not going to sit on the sidelines if she could help it. And now, all was in motion, and she was a part of it. She'd found what she was looking for at last. She was a part of something amazing. All at once, her reverie is shattered as headlights shine through the windows surrounding her front door, and she hurriedly puts Peter's phone under the couch cushion, feeling a pang of something like shame as she's suddenly brought back to reality. She opens the door, surprised to see Elise leaning against the doorframe, soaked to the skin, trembling in only a stained nightie streaked with black fluid. Elise. Please, Annika. Can I come in? Where's my son? I need to use your phone. I need... Elise half walks, half falls into the entryway, and Annika can barely hold her up. Of course, honey. Slow down a minute, though. What happened? Are you all right? There was a man in my house. He told me... Elise collapses into the couch and can't speak for a moment. The cushions are soft and warm, and she wants with all her heart to disappear into them and be safe again. Annika strokes her hair slowly, and somehow this is exactly what she needs. I'll get you a towel and some tea. and you can tell me all about it." Annika leads Elise to another section of the couch, away from her dead husband's phone, and Elise sits there for a while, her head between her knees, shaking off the cold and trying to catch her breath. When she finally dares to open her eyes, Annika is standing over her with a towel, a terry cloth robe, and a piping hot cup of tea. "Let's get you warmed up, okay? When you're ready, tell me what happened." She almost flinches as Annika extends the cup to her, but catches herself. The tea is strong and good, smelling of lavender and something else she can't quite place. Annika helps her out of her wet nightie and gets her in the robe. Elise tingles at the feel of the woman's fingertips on her shoulders, but she can't let herself give in to the pleasure of the sensation. Not until she's safe. She catches herself thinking of the woman's smell, wanting to get lost in the touch of her skin, but shakes herself back into focus. I really need to call the police. I've already called someone. They're on their way, honey. Everything is going to be all right. And LL Elliot. She hears herself stammering, and it makes her want to cry, to look so weak. To be so weak. The boys are sleeping. Come on, if we're quiet, we can check in on them. Annika walks Elise up the stairway, helping her gingerly, as if she was a precious, fragile porcelain thing, and Elise feels herself beginning to catch her breath. Annika cracks the door, and the boys are sleeping peacefully. Sam in his bed, and Elliot in a sleeping bag on the floor. Elise starts to cry a little, partially in relief because her son is okay, and partially in envy, wishing she could just rest, truly rest. Her eyes burn, and she feels like she might never fall asleep again. "You see, everything is going to be okay," Annika whispers, and Elise wants to believe her with all her heart. "Come on, you can lie down in my room. Trevor's been in Phoenix for a week now. I could use the company. Does that sound okay?" Elise nods shakily and smiles even more tenuously, because lying in bed with this woman sounds incredible right now. Annika lays Elise down in the center of her California king mattress, and she watches the vessel, the bearer of all her hopes, roll over into a fetal position, shaking and crying softly. It breaks her heart, but she knows what to do. She and the others will make this right. Annika strokes her hair and whispers softly, "It's all going to be okay, I promise." The Klonopin she dissolved in the tea worked as well on Elise as they did on Peter, and Elise is already drifting into sleep. Annika quietly retreats to the closet and returns with a loaded Beretta M9A1. She clicks the safety off and heads downstairs to wait. Hicks opens his eyes into darkness. He's someplace small, crumpled uncomfortably in a corner. The space is too small for him to extend his legs, and everything hurts. He wipes some blood from his brow ridge and out of his eye, and he can start to make out shapes in the darkness. He's in a closet. The motherfuckers beat him and left him for dead in a closet. It takes him a minute that feels like an hour to prop himself up and find the door handle, his head enveloped by what is probably a winter jacket. He can't hear anything, so he tries the door and opens it gingerly. The hallway, illuminated by the breaking dawn, is blindingly bright in comparison to the darkness of the closet, which makes everything hurt even worse. He's alone in the house as far as he can tell, and he doesn't stick around long enough to find out if he's wrong. He's still got his car keys, and the rain is lightening up with the morning. He's down, but not out. Hicks figures he'll need Ruben's help to get back in touch with Lawrence as he drives to the NorCal Motor Paradise. Hoping that putting Ruben up in a different motel and joining him there was enough to throw the Heralds off their scent, he pulls into the parking lot of the NorCal Motor Paradise. After an exceptionally painful ascent up the stairs, he produces the extra key from his jacket pocket and lets himself in. The room is dark, and Reuben's dead to the world, which is just as well, because Hicks is in no mood to answer the kid's questions. He drops onto the bed and lies there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, too exhausted to make sense of the jumble of thoughts running through his mind. Before he knows it, he's asleep. 3 sharp knocks fall on the door, accompanied with one self-explanatory word: housekeeping. Hicks jolts awake and instantly remembers how much pain he's in. "No thanks," he replies, trying his best not to sound as pissed off as he is about being awoken. The knocks come again. "Housekeeping?" Why hasn't Reuben dragged his sorry ass out of bed yet? Hicks wonders as he leaves the bed and cracks the door half as far as the chain lock will allow. He glowers at the overweight woman pushing the laundry cart outside their door and spits out, "I said, no fucking, thanks." Having grown sufficiently callous to abuse from guests, she merely shrugs and pushes the cart on toward the next room. Now that he's fully awake, Hicks can immediately tell something's wrong. "Reuben, kid, get up." He shakes the covers, but one touch of the shape under the blanket, and he knows it's too skinny to be Reuben. He tries to rouse the shape. "Whoever the fuck you are, get your ass up and start Lawrence's body rolls off the bed away from him, pulling most of the covers off and landing with a thud. The mattress is soaked with blood, and Lawrence's dead face looks up at Hicks from the floor on the other side of the bed. His throat's been cut. "Fuck," Hicks mutters under his breath. The Heralds had a busy night last night. He creeps to the bathroom, already fairly certain of what he'll find there. He's not wrong. Reuben's body is slumped in the tub, still fully clothed. He's been stabbed many times. His face has been partially smashed in, and a dripping gash now occupies the space where his left eye should have been, shreds of bloody flesh dangling at the edges of the wound. The eye now rests in Reuben's ichor-stained lap, just above the edge of the pool of blood that fills the bottom of the tub. Gore has spattered all over the tile of the shower wall, and Reuben's hands have been cut to ribbons. Poor kid, Hicks thinks to himself, but at least he put up a fight. Hicks can't mourn long, though, because he needs to get as far away from this crime scene as possible, especially since the cleaning lady can place him here, and there aren't that many middle-aged men with southern accents driving 74 Chevy Malibus in Sonoma County. Elise opens her eyes at last with the vague sensation of emerging from a pleasant dream. She's in the back seat of Annika's Escalade, which is heading for the coast. Elliot is beside her playing video games, and Sam is in the front seat pointing at the seabirds circling lazily above them. The midday sun filters through the clouds and lends a warm, gauzy blur to the trees and hillsides that pass by her window. She feels utterly clean. Her skin feels alive and pure, almost virginal. Someone has washed and braided her hair since she last remembers being awake, and she's clothed in only a flowing white robe that's loose and soft on her skin, embroidered with symbols that look strangely familiar. "Where are we?" she asks falteringly. "Mum, you're awake," Elliot exclaims. "Yeah, sweetie, I'm awake." She laughs at this, although she's not sure why. Annika smiles in the driver's seat and passes her a cold mug. "Welcome back, Elise. Have some juice. Did you rest well?" Yeah, I did. Best sleep I've had in ages, actually." "I'm so glad to hear that. I know you had a tough night." Elise furrows her brow at this, trying to remember. She was scared. Was someone after her? Whatever the trouble was, it seems impossibly far away now. Trying to recall it feels pointless. After all, who wants to relive a bad dream? The details slip through her fingers every time she tries to grasp them anyway. Whatever fear she feels seems foolish and far away now in the warm glow of the day. But that's over now. We're going to get you some help so nothing like that ever happens again. Elise smiles because that sounds so nice, so comforting. And she tries to remember her husband's name and surprises herself with how long it takes her to do so. Peter. Is Peter all right? Yes, Peter is fine. He's away on business, remember? Elliot chimes in as well. Dad texted me today. He said you should get me a samurai sword for my birthday. Annika laughs at this. Well, right now we need to get your mum taken care of, Elliot. Let's put a pin in the samurai stuff for the moment, okay? Your mum has a big couple of days ahead of her, and we need to make sure she has everything she needs. Then we can talk about swords over ice cream, okay? Thank you, Annika. Elise pauses, weighing her words and feeling their import as if for the first time. You've been a really good friend to me. It's nothing, really. My pleasure. The Escalade glides through downtown Bodega Bay serenely, heading out into the hills until it reaches a large modern house with an ocean view. There are several cars in the driveway already, and an old man in similar robes to the ones Annika and Elise wear stands at the front door, shepherding several others, all in the same garb, out to greet them. The home is beautiful. The view of the Pacific Ocean is spectacular, and everything is bathed in warm, soft light. The waves crash faintly against the shore in the distance as Annika leads Elise out of the car and into the waiting throng of acolytes and neophytes. They close in around her, and Elise feels something like the guest of honor, which is confusing but wonderful. Everyone is so kind and welcoming. She feels like she could happily lose herself in the warmth of their collective embrace. Soup to kek, they murmur as they welcome her and lead her inside. Elise has no idea what it means, but when she says it back, they bow their heads and smile or laugh affectionately. Elliot and Sam are led off to another part of the house by the promise of pizza, leaving Elise with the other dozen or so assembled here. The elder herds everyone toward a large open room, probably intended for use as a formal dining room. The room is largely empty, and the absence of a banquet table is compensated for by the presence of a large shape against the far wall, a bulky structure covered by a white sheet. Elise can feel the shape under the sheet humming and pulsing in time with her breath. The tile floor is gouged and scraped, but otherwise the room is like the rest of the house, immaculate. Once everyone is inside, Annika takes Elise's hand and walks her to the center of the room. Elise feels a little embarrassed by all of these people making a fuss over her. What is soup to kek? What does it mean? She whispers to Annika. Annika looks into Elise's eyes with rapturous admiration. Soup to kek is mother. Soup to kek is you, Elise. You will be mother to us all. Hicks is glad his room at the Super Value 101 Motor Lodge is on the first floor because, between the ass-kicking he got last night and the rod in his leg, a flight of stairs is about the last thing he needs right now. What he does need, however, he quickly grabs from his room. There's no time to take inventory, but he does allow himself to gulp down a couple of swigs of wild turkey and a fistful of ibuprofen. With Reuben and Lawrence dead, his only lead is the house in Bodega Bay. He's seen them use the same place for their ritual a few times, but they usually keep moving once they know he's been sniffing around. He allows himself the foolish hope they still presumed him dead, because what did one more bit of foolishness matter now? He has already gotten Reuben killed, so there was precious little left to risk. Of course, there's Hicks's own life in the balance, but that didn't occur to him. His only thought is that if the heralds believed him dead, they might still be in Bodega Bay. Besides, it's the only lead he had left, so... Fuck it, Hicks mutters as he slams the door of his Malibu shut and heads toward whatever awaits him in Bodega Bay. Elise lies on the floor, surrounded by the heralds of celestial ascendancy. They circle her and sing with adoration, Vent unki subtu kek kir inkum. Shabakek ek tarfak, She's not sure what it means, but somehow it makes sense. The elder turns the pages of the Astronomicon gingerly and leads the heralds in another refrain. But it doesn't matter. The song, the heralds, all of them soon fade away as the world around Elise goes dark. She's floating again, looking down at an endless obsidian sea, gleaming with the light of countless stars reflected in pitch-black water. She reaches down to touch the water, and it flows toward her outstretched hand. Her hand is as dark as the sea, and the stars are within her fingers, their light a reflection of her own. She trembles as she makes contact with the water, which trembles in response. It roils in time with the beat of her heart and the breath in her body. The fluid rushes through her, and she is cleansed by it. All fear, all doubt is swept away in a dark cascade of endless crashing waves. Hicks drives past the house in Bodega Bay and sees the cars parked outside, so he parks his car about a quarter-mile up the road. He tries to find some tall grass to conceal the car without success. "God fucking damn it," he mutters as he gets out of the car, feeling the stiffness in his left leg. The damp, breezy ocean air and the metal rod in his aching limb don't seem to be getting along particularly well at all. Dispensing with any pretense of subtlety and anticipating the worst, he carries his Sig Sauer P226 MK25 at his side, fully loaded, safety off. He approaches the house without incident, which he finds more unnerving than if he'd been met with resistance. He quickly takes the measure of the place, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out where they are. The windows of one of the rooms, a dining room if he had to guess, are glowing brilliantly, even through the blinds. Something is happening, something he hasn't seen before. He approaches the window to try and get a look inside. A burst of light from within shatters the windows, sending shards of glass flying at him along with broken bits of the wooden blinds. By the time Hicks has risen to his knees, he can see that there are no more windows, and part of the wall has also been destroyed. A woman that was once Elise Abington, composed completely of atramentium, floats in the center of the room, encircled by swirling tendrils of the black substance that seems to be both emanating from her and flowing into her. The heralds are prostrate on the ground now. Some are still attempting to chant, but the spiraling streams of viscous blackness are creating a deafening cacophony. The rhythmic sound of countless nails screeching on an infinite number of chalkboards in unison. The sound rips through Hicks's body, pulsing violently and preventing him from gaining his feet, which is just as well, as the tendrils of atramentium begin lashing out from the woman in wide slashing arcs. The atramentium whiplashes around the room, singing with bursts of unbearable noise. It slices clean through one of the neophytes, cleaving his torso from his right shoulder through his left hip. The two pieces of his body slide off one another slowly, exposing the bloody viscera contained therein. Hicks watches the man's thorax disgorge his entrails onto the floor in a sickening gush of wet splatter. Another tendril catches one of the acolytes in the face, sending eyes, sinew, cartilage and bone spraying outward. The acolyte's body stumbling backwards is all that prevents her brain from slithering out of the gaping blood-drenched hole that used to be her face. The heralds panic and start to run, but it does most of them little good. One of them dies screaming, though his death shriek is muted by the deafening din that fills the room as his leg is shorn off by a flailing wave of black energy. Another is speared through the groin and split like a wishbone, their bowels dropping out of their body through what was once their crotch with an undignified plop that sounds almost like a cartoon sound effect. Hicks is rooted to the spot, watching this unfold, momentarily so transfixed he hasn't noticed the cuts all over his face and hands from the shattered shards of the windows. A couple of the more fortunate heralds exit through the window and run past him in their escape, barely noticing him in their panic-stricken flight. He feels something in his gut, though, the hardening of his resolve. If he had time to think it through, he'd recognize the feeling. The confirmation of all of his suspicions about God, that if God exists, he shit is a fucking asshole. Hicks gets to his feet amongst the cacophony, his teeth gritted, wincing with pain and effort as climbs through the shattered window. Another herald runs past him, their robe streaked with freshly spattered gore, and he doesn't even notice. The elder, his head bowed, still muttering his incantations, is the next to feel an atramentum tendril, this one stabbing up through his midsection and sending his heart and lungs out of the backside of his shattered ribcage, along with shards of bone and vertebrae and a spray of ichor that stains the wall behind him, leaving a Rorschach blot of human carnage as blood pours out of the old man's torso. Only one herald remains alive in the room, a woman on her knees, her robe red with the slaughter of her congregation. The tendrils seem to be more controlled now, circling the floating woman rhythmically. Within the undulating dark liquid that comprises her form are flecks of flickering light. She ripples and pulses, not wholly solid nor liquid, but some unearthly stage of matter between the two. "Elise, what happened to you?" Hicks screams to be heard over the cacophony around him. He feels like he's in a wind tunnel. "Are you all right?" He nears the woman-shaped thing. He shouts at the top of his lungs, "Mrs. Abington, can you hear me? Are you in there?" The obsidian form looks back at him and replies, "No, not anymore." "Then what the fuck are you supposed to be?" Hicks screams over the clamor. "I am only that which I am," a voice ripples back through his mind. "Yeah, I figured you'd say some new age bullshit like that." Hicks snarls back, his words engulfed by the roar of the noise around him. He fires 4 rounds in rapid succession into whatever this thing is floating in front of him. The bullets pass harmlessly into the floating, flowing form. The noise continues to get louder as he approaches, and the force of the sound feels like a wind buffeting him. Each step toward the being is more difficult than the last. Petulantly raging against his own insignificance, Hicks keeps firing until the clip is empty, his hands aching from the recoil and the screaming noise that shakes his bones. The floating shape regards him as he approaches, fighting through the awful cacophony that makes every step an excruciating effort. For every inch he gains toward the thing, he's pushed back almost as far, but he's close now. Almost close enough to touch it. He reaches toward it, trembling fingers only a few inches away. The noise pulses out in a concentrated burst, sending him flying backwards into the demolished section of the wall. And then everything is silent. The noise has stopped, and Annika raises her head at last. Elise is floating majestically in the center of the room, a thing composed of Atrentium, but also a thing commanding it. The ebon humanoid form containing both absolute darkness and pinpoints of blinding luminescence is the most beautiful thing she's ever seen. She wipes off the blood splattering her face and beholds the entire scene. The master floating in the center of the room, resplendent and radiant, surrounded by the mutilated corpses of the heralds, their brains, entrails, and limbs strewn haphazardly around the room. You saved me," Annika stammers. "Just as you saved me," the master responds, the words, the concepts of the words echoing and vibrating peacefully through Annika's mind and body. Not knowing how to respond, Annika cautiously rises to her feet. "What now, master?" The master turns her black head toward Annika, and instantly she knows what she must do. She strips off her robe, and now naked hurries toward the other room where Elliot and Sam are hiding under the bed. huddled together as they tremble in fear. "Boys, you can come out now. It's all over. Everything is going to be okay." The two boys, crying, emerge from their hiding place and run into Annika's arms. "Shh, now. It's going to be okay, guys. I just need you to be brave for me. You can do that, right?" Annika leads them back through the house to the master, tousling their hair. Entering the dining room, the boys are too shocked at the sight of the carnage and the master to speak. At the far side of the abattoir, the cradle is now revealed, its battered and bent shell wide open, emitting a swirling cascade of black light that casts an unearthly glow on the horrific scene of slaughter around it. "Mom?" Elliot finally manages. "Yes and no," the master replies silently. "Is this... I thought you would give birth to the master." Annika tries to form the question she's been mulling over. The echo in her mind replies, "I did give birth, but to myself. There is little the elder understood." Annika tries to puzzle this through, but her other question seems more pressing. "So, what now? Are you taking us with you? To where you came from? That was the prophecy, wasn't it? The promise." The black light from the cradle grows more powerful, its field widening. The master opens her arms and the light from her grows brighter, a dark luminosity that defies reason and description. The light beaming out from her engulfs most of the room. Hicks, half conscious, watches this from the rubble of the outer dining room wall in disbelief. It takes every bit of effort to stay conscious and observe as the light of the darkness engulfs the room in a cold, harsh glare. A nude woman leads two boys into its source, the former Mrs. Elise Abington. The swirling energies from the cradle wash out over them all, growing brighter and brighter until everything is subsumed by it. By the time Hicks's vision returns, he's alone, surrounded by the corpses of the heralds in various states of dismemberment, and all is silent except for the distant noise of the waves crashing against the shore, and Hicks finally allows himself to close his eyes. Epilogue 35034061. Hicks, Edgar. Hicks's ears prick up and he stands wearily, leaning on the bars of his cell. 4 days and a lot of stitches later, and he's in more pain than when he was getting his ass kicked, either time. The paper-thin jail mattress hadn't helped his back much either. "Yes, sir. You made bail, Hicks.